What's up YouTube? Today I'm bringing you guys a Dark Magician deck profile.
Don't lose your way. Your mind we have to be as one.
So anyway guys, I know this deck profile has been long overdue. Apologize for the delay. I know I've been talking about it, promising it for quite some time. Nevertheless, this is my list. I have it. I completed the extra deck, just finished the extra deck today. I'm very happy with this list. I feel like this is the final list I'm probably going to go with. There is one card proxy. There are a couple cards proxy in the list, but you can all guess which card that is. But nevertheless, I will go and bring it to you guys because in the next deck profile, that card will be in there, promise. And I'm going to talk about a few cards I'm going to be going out of the extra deck when we do get Link Summoning. We'll talk about that when we get to it. Nevertheless, story about this deck's basically got it off a friend of mine. Really solid deck. I like it. I like kind of its play style. It's very like, I'll explain it. It's kind of a little bit like side frames but faster. It's kind of that middling ground between just stopping everything your opponent's doing and combo deck. It's got a little stunish aspect to it, but it also has kind of like, I like decks that can kind of do things on the opponent's turn and just interrupt what they do, and that's kind of where this deck comes in. So we'll go ahead and get to it. First, we have the 3 copies of Dark Magician. I don't need to talk too much about this. You know, some of these legacy decks you don't, like Buster Blader maybe, you might not play 3, but you absolutely need to have 3. There's not much of a debate really for Dark Magician in this list. Then you have 3 rods. Rod is basically your Stratos. Whenever it is normal summon, it searches a spell or trap with Dark Magician in the text. It's pretty important. You want to get this card on. You want to have this card in your hand, in your opening hand, in almost all situations. And I find that it's pretty. And it also has a grave effect that when you contribute off spellcaster, add it back to your hand, so you can keep using it over and over. Then we have 2 copies of Magician of Dark Illusion. I ended up bumping this down to 2 with a few of the changes I decided to make. But it is still a pretty solid card, but you know, it can special summon it from your hand when a spell or trap card is activated. It's Dark Magician on the field, so when it's special summon, it'll trigger Circle. And the other part is that it can special summon a monster from the grave once per turn while it's faced with the field, but it's not the card you want at a ton in your hand. Yes, there's Allure of Darkness, but you don't want to be using Allure of Darkness all the time. So yes, and then the proxies come in with the 3 Apprentice Illusion Magician. I do apologize for that, but she is ridiculously expensive right now, and you guys know Pendulum Magician Evolution comes out this Friday, so I really could not, my wallet couldn't justify getting 2 more of this with how expensive she is. But if you're unfamiliar what she does, basically she can special summon herself by the hand by discarding a card. When she's normal special summons, she can search a Dark Magician from your deck to your hand, and then she has an Honest Lake effect from the hand. You can I believe it's, I haven't read that part of the card, you can send it from the, you can send this card from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard, and it'll gain 2,000 attack and defense. So that really fills a gap the Dark Magicians have, because it's kind of like an alternative. It gives you searching. She's also level 6, so that's kind of opens up some neat synchro plays with her. And but I definitely would say that she doesn't like drastically make the deck like top tier shit or anything, but she definitely makes the deck better and faster, which is the whole point. And that's definitely something I'm going to make sure I'm going to have in future profiles. Then for some of the text, the 2 Silent Magicians. This card came in one of those duelist packs, but if you don't know what it does, you can special summon it from the hand by attributing a spellcaster, usually Rod, and then she gains 500 attack from your card in your hand. Which, you're playing Dark Magicians, you're almost always going to have cards in your hand. You want to have cards in your hand because to get Navigate and stuff off, and then she can negate a spell for free. She also has a effect when she dies by opponent's card effect to special summon that level 8 Silent Magician or summoning conditions, but I don't play that because I want to avoid garnets with this list, and if it was a dark it'd be maybe. But then we have 2 Chocolate Magician Girls. It's a good card, but there's a lot of times I bumped it down to 2 because there's times where it conflicts with Rod, because you want normal Rod, but you have this in your hand and it kind of conflicts. But she allows you to get some dead cards out of your hand. It allows you to deck thin a little bit, which is really nice. But it's definitely something I would debate cutting maybe for GoFu when Link format comes out. But it's definitely something I do like. It's just not like really amazing. Then we have the tuner, we have Knights and Sorcerer. Actually really interesting cards if you're familiar with what this does. So you got it's a level 2 dark spellcaster, so there's obviously Navigate and Dark Magic Veil synergy. When it's special summon, it's like a double DD Crow. It can target 2 cards in your graveyard and just banish them. So being a level 2 tuner, you can tune it with Dark Magician to make level 9s, you can turn it with Apprentice to make level 8s, and it's all around good card, and I feel like it's actually really solid. And then of course last we have one Max C. I've talked about Max C. I'm not going to waste too much time, guys, time on it. And then the spells, the 3 Dark Magical Circle. Circle's pretty much a necessary card. I know I see a lot of people saying you can play the deck without this card. I could not disagree more. Like, it is an absolute, you need this card. It allows you the consistency it adds, the banishing on either player's turn, disruption is just absolutely paramount to this deck's entire strategy. So that's really important. Then we have the 2 dualities. These definitely could be Pot of Desires for sure. I do have them. You know, you can trade duality. A lot of players I've talked to, some people have say that Apprentice can kind of conflict with duality, but I think digging for those key spell tree trap cards and pieces that you need kind of outweighs that. Yeah, you can't special Apprentice, but if you have a navigate setup, it really doesn't matter in most situations. I run 2 because it's one of those, you know, I don't play at 3 because I don't want to see multiples in the hand. 2 Allure of Darkness, you might be wondering why only 2, because you really don't have that many darks. I mean, it's like 3, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's only 11 dark and 12 dark monsters. It's not a ton, and you don't always want to banish all of your combo pieces. We do have Omega in the extra deck, but again, like, that's kind of slow in a lot of cases. So 2 Allures is kind of where I found the bueno ratios. 2 Illusion Magic, I know a lot of players only play 1, but I kind of like getting those Dark Magicians in my hand. You tribute off a spellcaster, usually your Rod, and then you can add 2 Dark Magicians from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So if you it's not one of those cards where it's dead if you've already gotten into all your Dark Magicians, and I kind of like it at 2 because I usually don't search it out at all. I have one in my hand. It's the type of card I feel like, you know, you want to see it some of the time, but not all of the time. So yeah. 2 Dark Magic Veils. This has always been the card I'm surprised more Dark Magician players only play 1 of, and I'm always shocked because the plays it enables. The important thing to remember is while there's the light point cost doesn't really matter, but it specials any Dark Spellcaster from either your graveyard or hand regardless of level. So that is absolutely brutal. It can be brutal for your opponent because you can bring back Knights and Sorcerer, banish more things from their graveyard. After Synchro play, you can bring Apprentice, search another Dark Magician. It's not the type of card you want to see a bunch. You know, it's the same thing I said about Illusion Magic. So it's really solid, and I like it. 1 Dark Magic attack, I've found that 1 is perfect. I know people have argued with me playing 2, but my bricks with this card would beg to differ. I feel like while the card is good, you want to search it, you don't want to draw it. That's why you play 1. The 1 Dark Magic Inheritance, there are some builds I've seen people play where they run this at 2 and they have like spells to set it up, but it can be a little bit bricky and dead in a lot of situations. So 1 is perfect and been perfect for me. It does add a little bit more consistency, and you could definitely it might be something you could consider bumping to 2 when we get the new spellbook card. And for the traps, we have the 3 Magician Navigate. Navigate's a card that you can that I've seen players play 2, and there's definitely something to be said for that, but I think 3 is absolutely important. If you have too many in your hand, you can always discard them with Apprentice, and then its Grave Effect will kick in when you've got a Dark Magician online. And that's really good because it can negate Twin Twisters and stuff like that. I honestly, and then we have 3 Eternal Souls. There's always the card that you have a love-hate. If you play Dark Magicians, you have a love-hate relationship with this card, but it's absolutely important to make sure, while it can nuke your board if it gets, you know, hit by something like Tornado Dragon, you know, any form of removal that's not Castell. It kind of sucks, but in making your Dark Magicians unaffected by card effects, being able to constantly special summon them every turn, search a Harpy's Feather Duster for your archetype is absolutely amazing. Then for the power traps, we have the 2 Solemn Strikes, the 1 Solemn Warning, and the 1 Skill Drain. Skill Drain was something I got from Team APS. Like, I'm a little iffy on the card because there's this deck does have a tad more effects in this. This might be something else, but I actually do like I think like Skill Drain is one of those cards where in this deck, since we do run mostly normal monsters, and because you can send Apprentice as a hand trap, it's not a massive issue. It's one of those cards, like, if you see it, it's amazing, but most of the time, most situations, you aren't going to see it. As far as any changes you could make, you could definitely play, change around. You can definitely play, like I said, you can play Pot of Desires. It's pretty solid, but I kind of think like it conflicts with the Navigate engine. But again, that Raw +1 is just too good in most situations. You could definitely cut the Choco Magician Girls for your card of choice. Maybe a 3rd Magician of Dark Illusion. Maybe a Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. But I just feel like there's there's not a ton of cards right now. Definitely when links come out, I definitely will change these out to Gokus for sure. So for the extra deck, guys, I will say that like you don't use your extra deck that much in Dark Magician. You don't really that much. You could. I've seen Dark Magician players fill out most of their extra deck with Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherry targets, but in this build, since I am playing the Knights and Sorcerer as my tuner, I feel like you will use it a little bit more than your normal like Demise Dark Magician build. But anyway, first off, we have the 2 Ebon Illusion Magician. This is one of your better combo extenders. If you do go into it, typically you're going to be pushing for game. You can, if you are playing Naruto, the rank 6 spellcaster thing, because you can actually overlay it. You can actually overlay this on top of it, which its effect allows you to special summon a normal, maybe it's a normal spellcaster monster from your deck, and then when a normal monster declares an attack, you can target one controls, can banish it. It's actually really strong. Most of the time, I don't know about 2, because most of the time, if you're going into this, typically it's going to be a game at that point anyways, but obviously if you guys are longtime Dark Magician players and you think the 2 of these, I feel like it is definitely, it's that good that you want to play 2. 2 Ebon High Magician. I know a lot of players only play one of this, and there's something to be said for that because you don't need a lot, but I feel like you have the room. But anyway, the main thing this does is if it sits there in defense mode, it allows you to use your trap cards from your hand, so you can hang on to those navigates and those powerful trap cards. It does cost you an Xyz material. Also, when it does Bite the Dust by battle opponent's card effect, you can special summon any Dark Spellcaster monster from your deck and then pop a card in the field. So you can actually grab Apprentice. So one of the ways you can use this deck to out Masterpiece is if you can summon this, if you've provided you've baited the effect already, you will summon this attack, and they've either got to use the Masterpiece effect or on this, or they're gonna have to, or it's gonna pop a card. So you can use that and then summon the Apprentice from your deck, and then you can use Apprentice's monster effect to smack over the Masterpiece. Kind of helps you to play around it a little more effectively than you might think. The one Big Eye, Big Eye is a card that's pretty much going to eternally be good in Link formats. I don't think it's going to change that because you can steal opponent's monsters and Link summon with them. That's pretty good. It's also a spellcaster, so while I don't play it in this build, if you do play Secret Village of the Spellcasters, you can definitely, it is a spellcaster, so it does meet that requirement. The one Master Blades, I actually saw this in a deck profile for this deck and honestly forgot it existed. If you're unfamiliar with it, does during another player's turn when the card effect is activated, it targets this face-up card, can detach material to negate the activation, destroy that card, then pop another card they control. So against a deck like Zodiacs, it puts a lot of pressure on them because they basically have to waste their entire they basically have to waste their Trident. You're gonna have to waste a lot of resources getting over this. You're gonna have to waste their Whiptail just to get this off the field, and that just puts you in a good position as a Dark Magician player because you're gonna have a ton of trap cards to stop them from doing that. So that's really strong. I don't know if it's gonna keep being in here, but it is an Earth attribute, so you can use it for Mistress Radiant foods, which is cool. The one Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. I still love this card, but I always have a love-hate relationship with it because while it's good, it also is kaiju food, and we don't like, we don't like giving them all the kaijus their food. So that's one of the things I always have a love-hate relationship with it, but it still puts a lot of pressure on decks like Mermails, Zoo, etc., that if they don't have the kaiju, it's going to give them a bad time. The one Gaia Dragon, honestly, it's filler at this point. You could definitely play a lot of different cards in the slot, but I feel like it's a generic rank 7. It inflicts piercing damage, and it's pretty good. The one Draco Sack, while it has lost a lot of its shine over the years, I feel like it's good in Link format because you can use it, you can actually summon tokens with it and then have it pop itself to clear, because it can tribute itself as cost. You can summon 2 tokens with Draco Sack, then activate Draco Sack's effect to pop a card, and you can have it tribute to the graveyard, and then you can Link summon from there, which is neat. It's definitely a card I feel like we could see a resurgence, because I feel like it's not, while Tomahawk does spit out more tokens, I feel like Draco Sack's not a terrible card to do that either. I feel like it's a little more flexible. Then for the rank 3s, we have 1 Grand Pulse and Break Sword. You can overlay into these with 2 rods on board. It doesn't happen a lot, but again, like, you have space, you can definitely run these for sure. Then for level 8 synchros, we have the 1 Omega. Well, I don't play Pot of Desires in this list, Being able to return banished cards can sometimes come up in certain situations. If you banished a key cards off a Dark Magician off a lure, you can put it back. It's just a good generic level 8, and I feel like it's the best generic level 8, and you can make it, so why not? And it's one of my favorite cards. The one Scarlight, Scarlight can really help you again. So I find Scarlight is really good at the end of a combo when you just need a board wipe to clear your opponent's board. Important to note, it doesn't blow up normal monsters, so if you happen to have a field full of Dark Magicians and nuke your opponent's board, this won't pop them. Granted, that's not an issue because you have cards like Eternal Soul, etc., but yeah. The one Azurize, for another one of the first level 9, Azurize is actually really cool because you can make it because Dark Magician is a normal monster, so you can make it. And if it's in defense mode and they have a masterpiece that's unaffected by spells, so Diagram isn't giving it the buff, they can't really out this very effectively because all their stuff targets. And then on the next turn, they might be able to get rid of it with masterpiece, but you're going to get a free Dark Magician and give you more resources to out their board. So that's actually really strong. I feel like Azurize is a pretty good staple in this deck if you do play the Knights and Sorcerer. And the last monster I have is the 1 Vermilion Dragon Mech. It's a very neat card because when you granted, when you do synchro with it, it does have to banish the tuner. So you might lose access to the rest of the synchro lineup when you go into it, but it allows you to clear threats. It can pop itself, and then if it is your opponent is dumb enough to actually pop it by their own card effect, you can trigger its grave effect to add back the Knights and Sorcerer from your hand. So it's actually a really strong card. I feel like it's the best generic level 9, so why not? So anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think of this Dark Magician deck profile down in the comment section down below. As always, thank you guys for watching. It's Warstorm signing out.